Reloading videos, guys. Loading for the 6.5, except this time we're going to load a 6.5 PRS for a Browning Hell's Canyon. I use Hornady dies. I do not like them, but it's the only thing we can seem to find right now. I prefer RCBS over the Hornadys, and if you watch my other videos, you'll see why. We're going to start with about 25 worked up cases. We're going to load them with the ELD matches, and we're going to start with Reloader 26. Then we're going to load some with H4831 and compare it, and some Mag Pro. I bought this Mag Pro for my 25-06, and I hit pressure sign before max, and I discontinued its use. But some people are saying they're having good luck with it, and Barnes recommends it in their LRXs, which we're eventually going to get to that. All I shoot in my rifles is for hunting loads is Barnes. I love my Barnes. And eventually we'll load up a few of these Federal Fusions, but we're running low on them. We only got like 25 left, and I've been trying for over a year to get more. We're going to have to use Winchester primers. That's all I have. We're going to compare standard rifle, and we'll load up some with Magnums and see if there's a difference between the Magnum primers and the regular primers. I like Winchester in my 25-06. It works better than CCI's. Hornady brass, once again, because it's all I can find. Have great luck with these in Creedmoor. Before you start loading any of your rounds, new dies, I spray them out with carburetor cleaner, and that's probably one of the problems I had with the stuck case I had on the second. Okay, after that catastrophe, I didn't film it, but my second case, I had a stuck case, and I just went down. I couldn't come back up. I mean, I lubed it, but from now on, I mean, I have done thousands of cases, but from now on, I'm putting on a glove, and I am covering this thing in dry lube. Another thing I had failed to do that you really need to do is ever so many cases, because I'm seeing a difference here, is you need to get that dry lube on the inside also. Take them perfectly lubed. Just like that. Now we're going to take these cases, and we're going to get a blue paper towel, and we're going to put rubbing alcohol, pour rubbing alcohol on it, and then we're going to wipe the lube off these cases. And then we need to deburr and camper here, and there's a flash hole in there that we have a tool that goes in there. We have this flash hole deburr, just goes in there, and you'll feel it pop just like that, and that burr is gone now. You really don't have to do this. I found this is only on the first fired brass, because after you shoot it one time, it burns the burr off. Something I'll do about once a year, if I got any extra this, I use this Lee dry lube. I have it all. I have One Shot, I have Imperial wax, but I just like that dry lube. I'll take it and wipe it all over my ram and any other metal parts, and work it real good, just as a rust preventative. I've cleaned the brass. You need to get your calipers and measure them, and you want to check. You'll find in your manual where it says trim to, and we're sitting here at 2.19, 2.185. So you want to spin it around a little bit, but you want to make sure that you don't need to trim the brass. But this here is new brass, so we shouldn't need to trim it. For the Creedmoor, I got this device here that's really neat. I don't have to use my trimmer over there. It's got a drill bit inside this piece of nylon. Otherwise, we got to dig out our case trimmer there. I don't like this one. Where did it go? So anyways, you got to come inside here and you will see where there's this hard line all the way around there, where you're going to put this in here and you're going to trim this. You'll feel it and it sort of loosens up, and then you're going to take the other device that goes around the outside and it trims out any burrs. If you don't do this, when you seat your bullet, you will see a ring of copper from the bullet. It's going to shave it. So we want that angle in there so the bullet will seat. This is new brass, so we probably don't need to uniform the primer pocket, but you want to make sure. So one of the reasons I had the stuck case is I do not have the proper, I think it's number 4 for the RCBS shell holder for the 6.5 PRC. So the only one I could find is one for 300 Win Mag. I think it's number 38. And when you put the shell in here, you will see there's a lot of slop in there, and we wouldn't have had that if I had the correct shell holder. If you've never used one of these hand primers, you need to get you one. There's nothing like them. Okay, I like the way Winchester primers are packaged. Another thing. There you go. And if you've never used one of these, all you gotta do is shake them and it uprights every single primer. Isn't that the coolest thing? These little tiny grooves catch the primer and flip it over. Now you put the lid on it, and we're going to go grab us some cases that were full-length sized, and we've campered the inside and we've deburred the outside. So we got 25 cases to do real quick. Now that's as far as it needs to go. Watch this gate right here. Okay, when I first started loading, I was squeezing it till it came completely, squeezed it home till it couldn't go any further. And what I was finding was I was actually, your primer should seat 1 to 3 thousandths. That's it. You should barely feel it there. One of the old things is you took them and laid them on a CD and make sure it was laid flat like that. But anyways, you can feel that little thousandths of a gap right there. That's all you want. You don't want any more. But I was squeezing it. That's about where it's going to fully seat. And I was squeezing all the way. And I was actually putting dents in the primer. Luckily, luckily, never went off. Okay, I don't know if I can do it this way or not. So put your shell holder in there. It's hard to do it for the camera. Get it to load in there. So you got to learn to feel it. When it seats home, it sort of stops. And you'll notice there's a gap right there. Okay, that primer's seated. I don't need to do any, I don't need to squeeze it anymore. And when I feel it, case I put through it, The instructions say to take them apart and clean them with some kind of gun cleaning kit, which I don't have. I've always just sprayed them out with carburetor cleaner, but after removing that stuck case, I couldn't believe how dirty the inside of that decapping die was. So the next thing is Hornady gives you 2 bullet seaters. One's right here. The other one's right here. Okay. You need to compare them. You need to see this one here seats really good. The other one goes about 30 thousandths. The other one goes about 30 thousandths more. And I really don't know which one to pick. There's no wobble in this. So we're just going to go with this one right here. But to put these back into your die, I think the best thing is you just drop it in there. See, these have a totally different setup than the RCBS that I'm used to. So you want to pull that all the way off. And we're going to go set this up in a minute in the die. It's got this collar. Whenever I load with my RCBS dies, I always turn them a third. Go down seat, turn a third, seat, seat, seat. And this is what this is supposed to. It's supposed to make sure that it's going to seat the bullet straight. And see, that's on the RCBS, I feel when this bottoms out. I mean, this one, I really can't feel it. I just see that it's pushing it out there. See that? So it's basically going to be right there, I think. But you typically, when you set up your dies, you take this out or have it turned all the way up and put it down till you bottom out on the neck right here. And then you turn this down till you feel it hit the bullet. That's why it's always better to have one, same kind of bullet, already loaded to set your die with, or else you're going to sit here and have to tweak and get the calipers out and tweak and get the calipers out. So next thing we need to do is get our powder ready. We've disassembled it and we cleaned it really good with carburetor cleaner. So this is something I'm noticing different than my RCBS. Okay, see that gap with the shell holder? On my RCBS, you want to bring the die down till it hits the shoulder, the neck and the shoulder right there. And as you can see with this one, as you can see, there's a gap there. Now I don't know, I mean, in pistol you actually crimp it. And I don't know if I should take it down further, try and crimp it. You know, Lee sells a crimping die for $10 that I use on my other. Okay, at this point we're ready to start loading our cartridges. We're going to load with Reloader 26. Everybody says it's the greatest thing. We're going to go off Hornady's published information for the PRC, for the 65 PRC. We are under our max case length there. We're going to load reloader 26. Okay, so we're going to load 53.3, 54.5, 55.7, and we're going to shoot for groups for a ladder test. So what I like to do is I like to write how many grains I'm going to put in these 3 groups right there in front. And we're going to load. We'll take them to the press and we'll seat the bullets. We're going to use I'm going to hand trickle the powder in here. We use a Lee powder scoop to get it in there, and then we'll trickle it into our 502 RBS scale, and that way we get real accurate loads. Over every electronic scale I've tried doesn't give us real accurate loads. That's where you get those big SDs, is your the electronic scale is plus or minus 0.1 grain, so you could actually theoretically be off 0.3 grains. Okay guys, I want to show you why I'm not a fan of electronic scales, or this Hornady anyways. Watch this. Watch how long this takes. I could easily hand load a whole lot faster. Remember, this is plus or minus 0.1 grain. Should I play some background music about now? All right, what are we? Right at 58 seconds, 59, 1 minute, 1 minute 3, 1 minute 4, 1 minute 5. It's still trying to come up with 53.3. Coming up on a minute, 15 seconds, minute 20. Minute 25. There we go. So basically a minute and 30 seconds to meter that powder. But now watch what happens when I put it on that one's pretty doggone accurate. But see, it's still not there. We're still several kernels short. And if you're going for SDs, that's enough to get it out of the... I like SDs no more than 7. So some of them have been a whole lot worse. So it's going to take 40 to 50 minutes to meter this powder for 25 rounds. Maybe if I had 2 scales going. I don't know. They talk about sticking a straw in there. A lot of times I take a paper clip and sort of feed them out a little bit faster there. It's like watching paint dry. See? Now if I take my trickler over here, That's 4 grains. Five. So we're 5 grains off, or 5 kernels off, not grains. So anyways, let me finish this up, get right back. Okay, on my cases, it might not show for the glare, but I'm going to write what kind of powder. Reloader 26, okay, 55.7 grains, and this has been shot 1 time, and I designate that by S0. And I keep track of how many times my brass has been shot. And on my 25-06, I would shoot them 7-8 times, and then I'd go kill an animal with it and retire the brass. But so I write on them just like this to keep track of which one. And when you go to load them again, just take you a rag with some rubbing alcohol, and you go around it, and the Sharpie comes right off. It's just a Sharpie. We're ready to start seating these bullets, and you need to have you some calipers when you do this. To set this die right, you want to take a known cartridge and put it here, and you want to run your ram all the way up. Now you're going to turn it down till you feel it hit the neck right there, okay? And at that point, we're going to turn down the locking ring, and we're going to get our Allen wrench. And I'm going to hold both the locking ring and the die, and I'm going to turn it back just a little bit, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to die in the locking ring and lock it down really good. Keep it from moving. So there we go. So now we're going to take our seating stem, and we're going to run it down till we hit the bullet. And we're going to lock the locking ring down. We're going to pull it up. 2.947. So we're going to put our first case in. Put a bullet in. And we're going to seat it home. 2.9517. That's close enough right now. So we're going to seat all of these, and there's no sense in you guys watching this. It's going to be pretty boring, actually. But another thing I don't like about these Hornady dies is, as I do this, on the RCBS, because of this whatever that guide thing is that's hanging down here, I've got to put the bullet up in there and lay it down on the bullet. I don't have that with the RCBS. So, I don't know. I don't know if you guys can even see this, but these 6.5 PRC cases don't hardly fit in my loading block here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these up, and I'll get back with you for our day. One of the things I need to do next is clean this mess up. I'm sorry, it is a mess, but I'm fixing to bring the wife's car in here, and I've got to put new coil packs and injectors in it, and I work on cars a lot. This is not a dedicated reloading bench. It's just a little bit of an area here, but that's all you need. You don't need a big fancy bench. It's worked good for 20 years. All you need is a good press and a small little 2-foot by 2-foot area. When I finish loading the rounds, I then complete a load card so I can record the data or the recipe. So once I hit a load that I like, I can replicate it. This is what a completed one will look like. And I'll write whatever notes, but all the chronograph data is going to go right here. And I can figure my SDs. I like an SD of 7 or less. And I will also measure the case overall length. That's very important. And so I did a video on these range cards, and if you'd like them, if you subscribe to my channel, I'll be happy to give you a PDF containing it. So I want to write all my chronograph information down there, and I want a really good group with a low SD. Sometimes you get good groups and high SDs and vice versa. Okay, but I want any pertinent information, I'm going to write it down on these cards, and instead of keeping targets, I can come back and just look at these cards in this data book. Like that was a 5-shot group I was really happy with. So I want to record it so I can replicate it again when I hit a load that I really like. Browning 6.5 PRC. Beautiful Browning rifle. Cerakoted barrel. Fluted. Muzzle brake. Leopold scope.
Is it right on 0?
Yes, sir. Oh, Paul, he's too lazy to walk 100 yards. He's gonna wear that starter out on that four-wheeler back and forth.